Hey guys, you're watching BTech. I'm Basil. This is on a 6X. This is a 7X. How do they stack up? That's what this video is all about. But before I jump into this phone and this phone, a quick shout out to our sponsors, directmobiles.co.uk, delivering excellent deals, award-winning customer service across the UK for over 23 years. And in addition, they've got a video comparison comparing the specs of the iPhone 10 and the Samsung Galaxy S8 and Filofax, giving tablets the world over a leg to stand on with the AnyTab 360. Right, now back to these two. You can see both of these phones have very different designs in spite of packing very similar names. You've got an 18:9 inch screen on the 7X versus 16:9 on the 6X. In addition, you've got a curved back, still all metal, or at least a metal plate on the back of the 6X, whereas the 7X just feels much more unibody. It's flatter, very similar to the Honor 8 Pro, I think it is. Yeah, that's the one. Launched alongside the Honor View 10 or V10, depending on where you are in the UK. On the 5th of December, the 7X comes in at £269. So you can pick up the 6X for a fair bit less. But what are you sacrificing? Well, the key thing is that 18:9 display when you look at the front of these phones. It really does look outstanding. They both have bottom firing speakers. They both have USB, micro USB, so no USB-Cs in sight. Unfortunately, the button configuration is very similar. Volume rocks on the right hand side, both expandable by micro SD card storage. And at the top, neither of these devices have infrared blasters, but both have headphone jacks on the bottom of the 7X, on the top of the 6X, around the back. Dual cameras across both. Different resolution dual cameras, 112, 116 megapixels, but they both perform very well. And rear mounted fingerprint scanners too. So the secondary camera across both is 2 megapixels so that it adds perspective information, whereas a primary is where it's going to get your actual pictures from. So immediately in hand, the 7X feels much richer, much more solid, much more like a unibody. There's been a teardown of the 6X and it has a metal plate on the back as opposed to being a metal constructed phone. And so, yeah, the 7X definitely wins with regards to design and screen as well. Based on the 18:9 aspect ratio of the display, it just looks much more now, 2017, I mean 2018 even, at this kind of price point, you're not really going to get anything else in the UK that you can walk into a store and pick up with an 18:9 display. The resolution across both is full HD. They've got basically identical pixel per inch ratios, so around 400 pixels per inch, so sharpness is going to be virtually identical. So it really is going to come down to the less bezels on the 7X. Viewing angles and everything like that are decent across both. I think the 7X might be a little bit less washed out than the 6X, but I really have been happy with both. One thing that is of note though on the 7X is you will want to get a screen protector. There are none pre-installed and this is not super scratch resistant glass. So if you put your phone in your pocket with your keys, you're gonna get a scratched up screen. The 6X by contrast ships with a screen protector preloaded, which is always a really nice touch. The user interfaces are very similar because they both run with Huawei's Emotion UI over the top, but they are different iterations. You've got Android 6 versus Android 7, and neither are the Androids that we would want. We would want Android 8 ideally on a phone launching nowadays. Practically speaking, when it comes to app support, they're going to be absolutely identical. So if that's all you really care about, and Emotion UI isn't much of a muchness to you having the latest version, then you could actually opt for either. They share very similar user experiences. Heavily themable, you've got home screens you can swipe through, you can pinch out to get an overview of your home screen. It's a pull down applications tray. On the Honor 6X, it's a left and right screen, while on the Honor 7X, it is a 2-tier pull down, which just feels a lot more stock, which I definitely prefer. So the user interface is solid in terms of speed as well. Neither of these have tended to have slowed down too much. Stick a launcher on here, and if it isn't super well optimized, then you might have a few stutters, and that is owing to the power under the hood. You've got a Kirin 659 processor on the new 7X, and that's, I think, versus a Kirin 650. I might have the numbers wrong, but one thing that I do know is that the only difference between these two is that they have a higher clock speed on the 7X on the 659 processor. So the higher clock speed may just mean that gaming performance is a little bit better. What will really help is the fact you've got improved multitasking owing to additional RAM on the 7X, 4 gigabytes versus 3 gigabytes. And also there's that 64 gigabytes of storage versus 32 gigabytes of storage. When it comes to the cameras, it's very similar. You've got a 12 megapixel camera versus a 16 megapixel camera, secondary 2 megapixel camera for perspective information, but practically speaking, they both take great photos. In fact, on a 7X on paper could even be worse at low light, because even though it has more pixels, the pixels are smaller in size. What's really going to differentiate both these devices from their flagship compadres, or their mid-range compadres even, that puts them in the flagship bracket, are the things like night shot, etc., and light painting. And for both of them, these two are going to be excellent devices. Unfortunately, Honor seems to have scrapped night shot, which was one of my favorite shooting modes from the 7X. It just had a really, really long exposure. But you can jump into long exposure through Pro Photo, which is available on both. And the majority of other shooting modes are identical across both, with a fun effects mode for some weird face filters. Let's flip that camera around and you can see on the 7X. So I can go into the effects mode and make some really obnoxious noises and make myself look like Hello Kitty on crack. Right, so now that we know how these stack up when it comes to the camera, both also record full HD video as well, no 4K across either. It is really only down to battery, and there's a 3340 milliamp cell in both, and they perform super identically. Huawei quotes that the 7X performs longer than the 6X. Practically speaking, I found both easily lasted a full day. And so if you do want to get these phones, and you can get a 6X for like £180 and the 7X for £270, and you don't care about the 18:9 screen, the improved build quality, and the additional storage and RAM, then you could just pick up the 6X and be quite happy. Oh, and of course the version of Android. But if you want arguably the best kind of value for money mid-range smartphone around right now, the 7X really is fighting that fight thanks to all of those things I just talked about. So hopefully you enjoyed this comparison. If you did, click that thumbs up button, like the channel, subscribe. It's how you stay on top of everything we do. And remember, head over to Direct Mobile's YouTube channel, where you can find a speaker comparison between the iPhone X and the Samsung Galaxy S8. Thanks for watching BTech.